He was Secretary of State, then Attorney General, the state's top law enforcement officer as Attorney General, and then was Lieutenant Governor, and then Governor. And
That is crazy. I did not know that.
so you have this.
Wait. So he did 28 for Secretary of State 4 years, and then after the 4 years he went for AG, and then after those 4 years he went for LG, and then after those 4 years he went for governor. Straight track.
He is still the only politician
to ever do that.
Alabama to hold all 4 constitutional.
That is crazy. That is
Alabama.
Hey everyone, welcome to Set in Stone Podcast, where we are setting in stone the foundational principles of educating folks in the social justice realm. I'm super excited to welcome Josh Coleman to our The South Got Something to Say series. So thank you, Josh, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, and so before we truly get started, I'm going to read off Josh's bio and just talk about how amazing he is. So Josh Coleman is a distinguished advocate for social justice and LGBTQ plus rights, serving as a deputy director of the Division of Social Justice and Racial Equity in Birmingham Mayor's Office. His pioneering role as the city's first LGBTQ plus liaison and leadership in Central Alabama Pride highlights his commitment to inclusivity. This year, he is a part of the second cohort of Obama USA leaders. Notably, Josh also contributes his expertise as a member of the Democratic National Committee, amplifying his impact on democratic values and advocacy. His academic pursuits in political science and public administration further underscore his dedication to public service and community engagement. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Yes. So just to get started, can you tell me how you got involved in that work? I mean, that bio was heavy. I don't know if you know that, but that's a pretty heavy bio. So I would love to know what got you started in this political world.
Yeah, so it's a crazy journey before this, before this life. I was a director of operations of a 28-store Pizza Hut franchise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so kind of a business world, which is, people say it is different from the kind of political scene, but it's not really.
Yeah.
I'm selling a product. I want you to buy the product. I want you to enjoy the product. Same thing in politics. I have a candidate. I want you to love the candidate. I want you to tell people about it. I want you to buy more of it. It's very similar, right? And so
Right.
I really got involved because, honestly, Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2016, and I was going to do everything I could to ensure we had the first female president.
Wow.
So I got to work and started volunteering and doing different roles, and it kind of led me to where I am now.
Wow. Wow. So you was corporate America, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so one thing I totally admire, you're like the first LGBTQ plus liaison for the mayor's office in Birmingham. What is that like?
Yeah, so it was a new role. So the mayor ran for office in 2017 and obviously won. I was happy to help on the campaign and do anything I could. During that, we had developed his platform for LGBTQ rights, and part of that was a liaison role. Admittedly, I didn't dream that it would be me. I did work with some national partners to kind of draft what that role looks like and what other cities have done. And it was new to other cities as well. Atlanta only had an LGBTQ liaison 3 months before I started in the role.
Wow.
And then when the mayor won, he asked me if I would like to serve, and I said no 3 times because it just wasn't for me. I was used to a different kind of reality. I was used to corporate America. I was used to, when I said I wanted something done, it got done because I was the boss. And government, I knew worked slower than that and differently.
Yeah.
But what he said and what came to be true was, I would advocate for my community, and I would work to hold him and the administration accountable around LGBTQ issues and social justice issues as a whole.
Wow. So you told him no 3 times. I mean, what was the 4th time like? Like, was that you? What? Like,
the 4th time was a phone call, and he said, "I'm not going to take no for an answer. I need somebody that'll tell me when I fuck up, and I need somebody that'll go to bat for their community, and you'll do both of those things. So you'll start on Monday."
Oh, yeah. I know that's right. There's no, yeah. Okay.
And so at the time, I was vice president of Central Alabama Pride, and they said, "Yeah, let's announce it at Pride Fest this week."
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, no, like that's a terrible time, worst time in the world to announce it. Super busy, crazy time.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it'd be really cool. Like, the mayor would come on stage, will announce this pioneering role, and that's what we did.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing. So history right
yeah.
here. Yeah. I love that. So what has been the most significant like accomplishments in advancing LGBTQ plus rights and policies here in Birmingham?
So I know it's cliche. There's a lot you can say, right? Like there's a lot that you can say we've done. We are the first city in Alabama to offer trans inclusive health care benefits for all employees.
What?
Yeah. So I mean, like that's huge.
That's
But
huge.
it's a
Yes.
small thing, right? Like you should offer everyone the basic dignity to take
Absolutely.
care of their health care needs no matter what, and it's a
Absolutely.
no brainer.
Yeah.
And it was very easy for us to do.
Yeah.
And so, that's one thing. There's other policies that we've implemented, but I think the one thing for me is the biggest accomplishment is bringing community into the fold into City Hall
Yeah.
and making sure that LGBTQ people across the city have a voice inside city government. It's very, like, when I first started, there were people that was like, well, you're doing too much and you're doing it way too fast now. Slow
Not you
down.
doing too much.
But I explain to them and I tell everybody, queer people and oftentimes don't have a voice at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a seat at the table, you have to push for as much as you can get done.
Yeah.
And you can get it done.
Because you don't know if it's going to,
You
be
don't know.
another you.
I'll not be there forever.
Yeah.
The mayor will not be the mayor forever.
Exactly.
There will be an administration change someday.
Exactly.
And so it's very important for me to advocate and do what we can while we have time. Some projects take longer than others, but they're very quick wins that we've been able to do. But the most important thing and significant to me is being able to bring community into the decision-making process.
Yeah. I love that. Amazing. So another role. So this next role, do you serve in this role as well as deputy director of the Office of Social Justice and Racial Equity?
Yeah, so I was brought on as LGBTQ liaison, and that role was very geared towards the LGBTQ community to advocate. We had other folks throughout the administration that director of cultural preservation, director of immigrant affairs, and so we brought all of those folks together into one office inside the mayor's office. And so
wow! Okay.
I have the privilege of serving as deputy director of the entire division.
Okay.
And so it sounds really cool. What it means is we're able to collaborate on all social justice issues across the city, and then quite honestly make sure that those voices are at all decision-making tables.
Yeah. So what are some of the policies and like accomplishments in advancing social justice and racial equity in Birmingham?
So I think, you look at the work we've done. Our division's responsible for the restoration of the AG Gaston Motel, which had sat, dormant for years and was slated to be demolished. And then, President Obama made it part of the national monument that he did in 2017. And then when the mayor took office, he brought Denise Gilmore in she was at the Historic Trust in D.C., and she came on his staff to really help restore the motel. And so now it is the centerpiece of the Birmingham Civil Rights National Monument.
Wow.
And so it's two sides. The city owns half, the National Park Service owns half, in a partnership. So the restoration of that is significant for so many reasons. Obviously, it's where Dr. King and civil rights leaders plan Project C in Birmingham. And so making sure that sacred space is preserved was top priority. Another is creating advisory groups. We learned early on that it was an ivory tower mentality, and just quite frankly, you had to know somebody, you had to pay somebody, you had to kiss the ring kind of thing, and people were disillusioned with city government. So it was really like, how do we bring you in and to know like you do have a voice? So we created, the LGBTQ advisory board was very important to me. One of the first things, we also have a women's initiative, a faith leaders roundtable, a Vanguard, which is Gen Z and millennial roundtable. And so we bring all these different groups of folks together and to offer advice and policies and solutions. And so that's been really cool. And so I think that's probably the most important.
Yeah. Can you talk about the work of A.G. Gaston? And I know you talked about Martin Luther King setting plans to do what now, Birmingham? What
so
do you do?
That's where they plan Project C, the marches and Birmingham. And so all of
at
that
the
was
motel.
planned in room, in the war room there, which was where Dr. King stayed. So
wow, I've never been. I put me on.
You'll have to come.
Yeah.
It's open. You can tour the courtyard. The city invested $10.1 million for the exterior restoration and the restoration of the courtyard. So, it's restored back to a significant period, there. And so you go in and you can it's just a cool feeling. You go in and you see the exterior restored, and the city operated side is a permanent exhibit to Dr. Gaston. So through a grant from the Mellon Foundation, we were able to put a permanent living exhibit to Dr. Gaston there. So you can go in, you can learn about him, see about his life. And then the cool thing is soon there will be a coffee shop opening there thanks to that same grant. So it's for minority-owned business that can come in and open a coffee shop. It's built out. All the equipment's there. You literally just come in, put your point of sale up, and you're ready to make a profit.
Wow.
And so because of that work and collaboration, we're able to provide an opportunity there. And
That's
then,
amazing.
Yeah. And so then when the Park Service side gets up and operating, they are now looking at how they're going to interpret the space. So they'll restore the war room to, a period of, if it was in the middle of the planning for Project C when Dr. King was there, based on photographic evidence. And then what they do with the rest of it, do they have many exhibits? Do they have a whole big exhibit? What does it look like? So I'm really interested to see kind of what their plans are, but they're supposed to be done in 2026. So
wow. So that's in, 2 years?
Yeah.
And that's going to go by pretty fast, if we're being honest. I mean,
yeah,
time is
I'll be
flying.
there before you know it.
Yeah, exactly. Dang, that's so amazing. So the second point that you made was the advisory councils.
Mm-hmm.
So women, LGBTQ plus, Gen Z, Vanguard.
Yeah, Gen Z, the Vanguard, faith leaders. So we have
faith
over
leaders.
200 faith leaders throughout the city. Obviously they don't gather at one time, but they do come together.
Yeah.
Through an invitation on a quarterly meeting. They meet with the mayor. They meet with us. Just to hear updates and also give just their candid feedback on what's happening.
And the goal of that is just to get feedback from the community.
Yeah, I mean, you have a voice. You have a direct connection. You have a direct connection, to the mayor, but also to city leadership.
Yeah.
Sometimes people want that connection with him, and sometimes they're like, "That's great, but who do I need to talk to?"
Yeah.
And so it's cool to provide that opportunity.
Yeah.
And the other is the civil rights stakeholders. So before they were kind of all on their own, doing their own thing, and so through the work that Denise has done in the district, they've been able to kind of come together as one, stakeholder group to make sure that they're advocating and doing what is best for the civil rights district.
Yeah. So can people apply for that, or are you selected, or what is that process?
Yeah, so ultimately you're selected and appointed, but anybody can apply for it.
Oh, okay.
And it's very open.
Okay.
It's very fluid.
Yeah.
So we want all the voices possible.
Yeah. What's the is there like a numerical limit for each one, or
not really.
Okay.
We started out saying this is going to be like 28 people. The LGBTQ advisory board was 28 people throughout the city, various backgrounds, and folks often express interest, like I want to be part of this, and so you're like, come on,
So it's anybody.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
I
a little
love
bit
that.
of process. You apply. You're appointed for a term, and that may be 2 years. I think most of them are 2-year terms on those, but. And then some people just want to come and visit, and so we welcome that too.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, next question. You do something else. You're over the Academy of Civic Engagement, right?
Yeah, so this is my last year leading the Academy of Civic Engagement, which is kind of bittersweet, but it's moving on. Kali Aquila is going to take it over and run it, but we've done it for 5 years now, and so it was kind of born really out of that same thought.
Yeah.
It was the mayor's vision to how do we create a more transparent government and how do we bring people into the fold. And so it's a 7-week program designed to do that, get residents directly involved with city government. And so we bring them in. It's once a week, 2 hours, 2.5 hours once a week, and you come in. You get to hear from obviously the mayor, the city council members, but various departments. You get to hear why certain streets are paved and what the mentality is. You get to hear public safety updates from the police, fire, everything. It's like a course, just course tracks. And so you get to understand, why things are done. I tell people it's a peek behind the curtain inside city government.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing is, again, for me, you get that direct connection with all these various department heads. So if you have a question, you have all the information.
Yeah.
And then that is the cool part about the program is it's representative of people from across the city. And so we meet at one central location, and you may interact with somebody that you would have never otherwise been in the room with. And so now you've built that connection. So we just graduated our 8th class over 5 years.
Wow.
And we've graduated 1,200 people from the program.
Wow.
And so
that's a lot of folks.
It is a lot of folks.
And that's 8 classes in 5 years. Y'all been putting in hard work.
That's 8 classes in 5 years.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that people have a connection to City
Right.
Hall.
Exactly.
And they have people they can call if they have questions. And then a lot of times, I say it, we feel like a switchboard operator because some questions they have are really not city related, or they maybe have a question about something county related or state, but we're able to help, the best we can connect.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is all about, is making people connected and
Yeah.
getting issues resolved, no matter what that is.
Yeah. So what impact has it had on like just civic engagement, do you think?
I think it's profound, right? And so Birmingham's unique. They have 99 neighborhoods. They have a 99 neighborhood structure. At the age of 16, you can be involved in your neighborhood. You can vote on business matters at the age of 16. And then...
In the neighborhood association?
Yeah. And so...
Really?
A lot of people don't know it. And, quite honestly, it's kind of been this thing where there's, a few people in a room and they're meeting. It's the same kind of
People?
folks
Yeah.
that come to every meeting. But so... This has kind of infused some new life in it, or at least some new interest in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That they have these meetings, they get a little bit of funds from the city to do projects, but your voice can be heard at even a small neighborhood level. So
at 16 is cool.
At 16, so that kind of pathway to leadership is cool for young folks. But
absolutely.
The other thing is serving on boards and agencies. Everything that happens in the city, they're like, oh, the library board, oh, the airport authority, oh, this the waterworks board. Well, those are made up of people, residents from the city. But if you don't know that and you don't know the process of how to serve on those boards, you're not going to apply, or you're not going to know the process.
Right.
So this also does that and allows folks, a peek into, this is our boards and agencies. This is how you would go about getting on those.
Right.
And so seeing that interest from residents, being like, hey, I have some time I would like to serve in this role, has been really profound to me.
Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Dang, I ain't know Birmingham. Put me on Birmingham. Okay, Birmingham, Alabama.
Come on.
Jeffco, Jefferson County. Y'all might be doing a little something.
We'll put you to work.
Oh. I love it. Okay, so you're also president of Central Alabama Pride. I'm telling y'all, that bio is heavy. Like, Josh do everything. He does everything. You do it all.
I do a little bit.
You do a lot. Did you just hear yourself? Yeah, you do a lot. So you're president of Central Alabama Pride, and you've also served in leadership roles with Young Democrats of America, and YDA, Young Democrats of Alabama. And then you just spoke about all these roles. What does balance look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Balance is ensuring that we have a world that we want our children and grandchildren to live in. And so oftentimes, you show up to something like, oh, you'd be great to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I have a hard time saying no. I have a hard time saying no to meaningful stuff.
That's real.
And so
real.
If there's something that can come out of it, I'm happy to do it. I served in a time with Young Democrats of America in an interim as a chief of staff for the organization at a time when it was going through structural change, right? So it was post-2016 election, post like doomsday, what do we do now kind of thing. And they had a new leadership take over. So I was happy to do that and connect people from across the country into this organization that's supposed to, the goal is to get young people involved in the political process, no matter what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Through the democratic apparatus.
Right.
And so it was cool to do that. It was cool to connect people, and it was, cool to be that pen. And then when there were other people that wanted it, I was happy to hand it off to them and build those connections. And so
absolutely.
That was cool.
Yeah. So because you have to manage these roles while advocating for progressive issues within, like, your roles, but, like, how do you... Does it ever intersect with local government in Birmingham?
It always intersects, right? And so Birmingham's very political no matter what. And, some of it is real and some of it's fake and some of it's people just making up shit.
Oh, true.
The important thing is how do you navigate it all right? So one role pays me. One role pays the bills, and that is my job with the mayor's office. I serve in the mayor's office because I believe in him, and I believe in the vision for the city.
Right.
And so I will always stand on that.
Right.
The other thing is everything else is volunteer. Everything else is how do we build a better city? How do we build a better state? How do we build a better country?
Yeah.
And being, I serve as president of Pride. I do a lot of political roles, but the Pride piece is really important because we get to celebrate. Central Alabama Pride's just celebrated 46 years. They've been around for 46 years. And so to lead this organization that's going into its 47th year is really about helping, it takes place in Birmingham. We had a $3.9 million economic impact on the city of Birmingham last year based on a celebration of
With
community.
Pride?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so we have
$3.9 million
in one weekend.
in one weekend? That's amazing. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so folks come from all over to celebrate because they know Birmingham, is an inclusive city. We've helped build that.
Yeah.
We've helped expand on that.
Absolutely.
And they come because we have a celebration geared to everybody. It's free to get in. I
Yeah.
mean, we create this free parade, this free festival. We have high quality entertainment. Last year we had Adina Howard and a slew of queens from RuPaul's Drag Race. That is quality entertainment, free of charge. Bring the whole family and just have a good time and be your authentic self. And so we're able to do that because of sponsors. So, those kind of roles kind of flow. Like, it's also very important to me from a city standpoint to ensure that we have a great quality Pride Festival in the city. We just told you there's an economic impact that boosts the city's economy.
Absolutely. $3.9 million.
The second piece is we're letting people in Alabama and across the country know that you can be yourself here no matter what.
No matter what.
So those two roles are, lockstep.
Yeah.
And the other part, the political part, is making sure that we have good elected officials. And, fortunately or unfortunately for me, I serve on the Democratic National Committee, so it's my goal to get Democrats elected no matter what. And right now in the country, Democrats are the only ones standing on principles and morals.
Yeah, you're right. I'm so glad you brought, Democratic Party up because I want to talk about it.
Let's get into it.
So let's start with, before we get to the national one, can we talk about Alabama Democratic Party?
Yeah.
All right. So you had ran for chair at one point, and you did. And I want to know what made you want to take that role? Because when you ran at a time where it was a lot of restructuring and it was a lot of foolishness. You ran at a hard time.
I ran for party chair at a time where I had just come off of the 2016 election. I had just traveled the entire state of Alabama for Secretary Clinton. I was a volunteer coordinator for the state. I traveled to all 67 counties talking about how people can get involved in the election, what you can do in your local community, and what you could do in swing states, Georgia and Florida. And we were actually working that entire year to get people plugged in. I saw at the time doing that, through that work, that there are good people throughout Alabama that needed A, structure, and B, support, which the party was providing none, very little in some places. After that, I was, that's the same time I became president of Alabama Young Democrats, and we did what we called the 67 county strategy. And that was because I had just saw that we needed support throughout the state. And so we, as young people, traveled the state. It looked crazy. We, sometimes met in a coffee shop, and we had a pop-up event, and we tried to connect with Democrats. But what I saw through that it wasn't just young people that needed to be involved. It was older folks, our more seasoned Democrats, that also needed support and guidance. And we would plan this event for young people, and 90% of the people would be above 50. And they'd be like, we're just so excited that there's some Democrats here, and we just wanted to come support. And so that I knew then that we needed structure.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, the party goes through a lot of changes, right? There's a whole shift with Doug Jones, Joe Reed, and that war, and kind of, long history of whatever they got going on.
When it comes to your health, getting to your appointment safely and comfortably is essential. K3C Transportation, they are not just about transportation, they actually care. They have trained drivers who understand the unique needs of each patient. These drivers can get you there on time, stress-free, and no problems. Your health is their priority. This is why they focus on a compassionate service tailored to your needs. Choosing K3C will not only benefit you, but it will also benefit those around you. So be sure that when you choose a non-emergency medical transportation service, you are choosing K3C because they will be there every step of the way.
And Chris England was the party chair. during COVID. And I get it was during COVID, but it was also a time that we needed stability. And I think that him and the staff at the party provided stability in the 2020 election, as in we were working to get Joe Biden elected. And it was a time that we were unsure of, right? Like, what's COVID? What's this mean? What's going to happen
Absolutely,
next?
yeah.
And so when in 2022, when he was not going to run for party chair, I still believe that we needed support. We needed support throughout the state. Our county parties were seeing very little resources. And so I don't want to say like I knew the people, but I mean, I knew the folks.
You knew enough.
I knew the people throughout Alabama.
Yeah.
I was connected. I ran because, and I still believe that we need an organizer at heart at the head of the party.
Yep.
It's an unpaid position. You don't get paid in Alabama to be the party chair.
Yeah.
So why do you want to do it? And so for me, I searched long and hard before I made the decision, but I made the decision because the people of Alabama deserve a second option. And that second option is the Democratic Party. We're dominated by Republican control, and we can't even send out a press release to combat the hateful stuff that's happening in America, and right here by our own Republican Party. And so I ran because we needed leadership, and we needed an organizer at the head of the party, someone who was not, doesn't worry about talking to folks and meeting people where they are, and that's all people.
Absolutely.
And so I still believe that today.
Absolutely. Dang, you just said a whole mouthful. I don't even know what to say to that.
That's a lot. It's deep.
It goes very deep because I think a lot of it stems from people trying to hold on to power, but I think a bigger question to holding on to that power is like what has your power gained for you? What has it left? Do you have a legacy left? Are there even people that are willing to carry it on for you that will be here in the next 10 years?
It's holding on to the perception of power.
Right.
That's what it is.
The perception, because you say you don't even get paid for that. I'm sorry, but there's no way I would be going this hard for someone I don't only get paid for.
You don't get paid, but if you do it right, there's many rewards.
Absolutely, but you don't get paid and you're doing it wrong, like you going this hard, and you don't even get paid. I thought you got paid, so I thought the people was going this hard because they were getting paid, but you don't get paid to go this hard.
The payment,
to disrupt.
The payment should be
disrupt though.
Electing Democrats.
That is. I absolutely agree.
A state.
I absolutely agree.
Where we can have a civil conversation with Republican counterparts.
Absolutely agree.
And bring us back to the middle somewhere, so we can actually pass policy that affects Alabamians
and get something done. Because disrupting this much and you're not getting paid is asinine. And I'm not saying I would not. What I don't want misconstrued is like I'm not saying no, I'm not gonna do something if I'm not getting paid. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I just think that for what's happening right now, and it not to be nothing involved, but just the perception of power is crazy.
So yeah, you're a captain of a ship, but if your ship's sinking, you have no one on board. What are you a captain of?
Hello. Yeah. It's holes all in the ship.
Titanic 2.0.
2.0. 2.0. Jack. Rose. Out there.
There was.
Okay, moving on. Okay, so your work touches like both local and national political spheres. So can you talk about, we just talked about like local, which is like state. Can you talk about your work with the Democratic National Committee?
Yeah, so being a member of the DNC has been really rewarding in a lot of ways. I was elected to the DNC in 2020 in the middle of COVID, so a lot of stuff was virtual, and it is admittedly different when we have a Democrat in the White House. So your role in the DNC is kind of tame. Your political party's in charge. The president is effectively the head of the party, so what the president wants is basically what the president gets.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff that you don't have to vote on and don't have to do as a member. But the cool thing is making the connections from other DNC members across the country and being in rooms with people and getting to help. And then leading up to this election, it's been really impactful to be called upon to, we're doing stuff in Georgia and we're going to so I am very out and part of the LGBTQ community. So being called to go to different events and speak at different stuff has been really kind of rewarding, and doing everything we can. At the time it was Joe Biden. I was 10 toes down behind Joe Biden. I value him. I think he's been the most consequential president in our lifetime. And so when he was running for re-election, 10 toes down.
Yep.
Like, I love Joe. We rocking with Joe.
Yeah.
And then,
like 4 flat tires.
Yeah.
Ain't that what they say?
When he made that selfless decision to step aside, and our vice president stepped up, I was happy to have 10 toes down behind her.
Oh, yeah.
And so through this whole election process, just being a part of that and being, an insider, which is another perception of power, which is not real. But being there and being invited to these spaces and being able to work, and it's another volunteer role. You don't get paid to be on the DNC. You pay for your own travel. You pay for your own stuff. Go into places. But it is about doing the work and getting involved.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay, so the next question is, you just spoke about, you said something about the president, but my mind went to the previous president, President Obama. You are an Obama USA leader. You're part of the second cohort.
I am.
How amazing is that?
So it's amazing. It's a unique opportunity, right? And I almost didn't apply for it because I have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then, I saw it as an opportunity. It's leadership development. It's a lot more intense than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But so I applied for the program, did 3 rounds of interviews via Zoom, and then ultimately got the call that I was accepted into the cohort. There's 100 people throughout the country. I think it represents like 37 states.
Oh, wow.
That are part of this cohort. So there's 100 folks. A lot of work goes into it.
Yeah.
But it's great leadership development. You get to hear from folks that were close to the president, that work in the foundation. It's a very nonpartisan kind of initiative because it is led out of the Obama Foundation.
Yeah.
And so it really is, right now, it's about communication and telling your own story and your personal branding, and how do we, what does democracy look like, not only here in America, but across the country.
Oh, wow.
So diving into that and the topics that are yet to come. It's a 6-month program. And so hopefully it continues to be as rewarding as it is now. But the first month and a half has been nothing but super rewarding.
Yeah. So do you see this as something like that will shape your leadership and vision for community engagement?
Absolutely. So I think, anytime you get a chance to soak up knowledge from anybody, you should take it. And so, this was a free program, free leadership training, kind of. And so I'm happy to learn from great people. Obviously, President Obama, but Valerie Jarrett, who was on his team, and Ben Rhodes, and other leaders that they bring in. And then through the whole coaching process, we're paired with a personalized coach through this whole 6-month process. And that coach is to help you bring out your leadership qualities, but also challenge you on what you don't do. And so, like, our first meeting she was like, okay, great. I want you to say no to 10 things before next month and write those down. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's such a challenge. I mean, you said you don't have a hard time saying no, but you have a hard time saying no to meaningful things.
Yes.
I'm sure there have been tons of meaningful things that have probably come your way, and you had to say no, right? On that list, at least?
I haven't started yet.
Oh.
So I'm going to start after November the 5th.
Oh, after, okay.
We got an election.
Yeah. Okay.
Then I'm gonna
after
start saying no.
Yeah. Okay. After November the 5th. Okay. Cool.
But so that, and then her other challenge is to take 1 hour a day with no devices, no phone.
Absolutely.
No
I love that. If I could take 8 hours a day.
You could do it.
If I could.
But
if I could.
You do it?
Absolutely. I really do. I value my me time with no phone. And yeah.
Okay, I'm struggling to get through an hour. So like
I value my me time though. Do you value your me time?
I do, but I also want to be connected.
Oh, I feel that. Okay. That's fair. Okay, next question. Did you work for previous governor Don Siegelman?
So I was able to help through. I consider myself an aide to the governor. And he's become a close friend.
Yeah.
I mean, during 2020, where I had COVID, and he, showed up at my door and knocked on the door and sent a text message and said, "There's some tequila on the front porch. Drink this, and I'm sure it'll make you feel better." So. But through
I love that.
Through his journey, and I remember being very young, and he came to speak at a school event or something, and he was the governor. That was like, I was young, I didn't even know. I was like, this man's cool. He's our governor,
Yeah.
But so then, growing up and seeing what he did for the state of Alabama and tried to do for the state of Alabama was cool, and I was always a fan. And so then when he, got out of prison, and it was around the time 2016, 2017, I was really deep into working on organizing. And one of the phone calls I got was from former Governor Don Siegelman saying, I see what you're doing with young people. How can I help? He said, I'm on house arrest. I can't leave, but let me know how I can be helpful. And so through that, that he came out, they came out with a documentary about him, Atticus versus the Architect. It's on Amazon Prime. It's like $1.99. It's worth $1.99. But it tells his story, and it tells kind of the whole story. But after that, in his time in prison, he was working on a book, and he published a book called Stealing Our Democracy.
Ooh.
And so
I did not know that. I have to get that book, and I have to watch that movie.
The documentary is great. The book is even better. It is from his perspective. He wrote this. He edited this book. So, on the back end, I was able to help him, not proof the book. I'm terrible at that. But I got lost in the story and hearing his stories and him sharing. You think about these people that come before us and their stories never told, but he told this story in such a raw, authentic way. And so what I did was help him after the book was released. It was during COVID. It was 2020. We were at home.
Yeah.
I helped him get the book out. We booked him on shows and podcasts and TV interviews and really just helped him tell his story. And so that whole thing has created this yellow brick road of blessings that became a friendship. And so I think he's one of my best friends. And what happened to him through his story could happen to anybody. He was very successful in Alabama politics. He was a relentless politician. He still is.
Yes.
Democrats, Republicans, and independents love him, and they still do. And, I managed his social media through the book release, and people that would message him, hardcore Republicans, were like, I wish you were our governor again. I wish you could run
for real.
office.
I do too.
So
I do too.
He's very popular.
Yeah.
And so what happened to him, if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. And so he tells his story through Stealing Our Democracy of that. It really is a blueprint of how you can steal an election, how you can steal and railroad a political figure. You think about this man who was the youngest person elected as Secretary of State. He was 28 years old and ran for statewide office and won.
I did not know that he was 28.
Mm-hmm. And then you go from...
When he ran for Secretary of State.
Yeah.
He was 28. That's how old I am. That's crazy.
You too could be the Secretary of State.
No, Josh, please, let's not do that. Let's not.
He was Secretary of State, then Attorney General, the state's top law enforcement officer as Attorney General, and then was Lieutenant Governor, and then Governor. And
that is crazy. I did not know that.
So you have this.
Wait. So he did 28 for Secretary of State 4 years, and then after the 4 years, he went for
Attorney
AG,
General.
and then after those 4 years, he went for LG, and then after those 4 years, he went for governor. Mm-hmm. Straight track.
He is still the only politician
to ever do that.
Alabama to hold all four constitutional.
That is crazy.
That is Alabama.
Governor Siegelman, when you watch this, I love you even more. I loved you before, but now I really love you even more. Okay, that's crazy.
So, and the crazy thing is,
How did he do that? Call me. Like, what? I'm gonna watch the movie and the book.
Do it, but he's a successful politician that connected with people. And even now, like he'll call me and be like, you got to get a message to Kamala. She needs to do X, Y, and Z. Like I have her phone number, right?
Yeah.
But the point is he's saying that, we may be missing somebody here. What can I do? Or this is an area that we need to focus on. But the man's connected. He knows everybody. He knows folks from all over the country. And so he's kind of doing his thing now. And he started his nonprofit. He has got his law license back. He's practicing law again, mostly pro bono, but taking on cases and helping people that are on death row that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, what is his? I gotta read the book. I gotta watch the movie.
Yeah, it's great.
I have to do that. Wow. Speaking of books, though, I'm so stuck on that. I'm sorry. I never knew that. I thought he was just governor. That's crazy.
So he
That's
did it
so
all.
Crazy.
Then he was, a dark horse for the White House. Maybe not president, but vice president. He was often considered in these, kind of conversations from the South. You think about the New South.
Yes.
And Jimmy Carter being elected, and then Bill Clinton being elected. And then at the time going against George Bush. And so then when you watch the documentary and you read the book, you'll see like, oh, this was a conspiracy and this happened and this is how this was railroaded. This man was railroaded.
I do, yeah.
And so I think when people hear the story, they're like, damn, this happened to you. It could happen to me. And that was kind of his warning during 2020. The book happened to, come out at a time when Joe Biden was running for president. Even now, I think with all that's going on with Donald Trump and all of his, 34 felony counts and everything that he's done, you have this man who was governor of Alabama, very successful, who got railroaded. And then the same people are trying to railroad and steal our democracy now.
Absolutely.
And so it's
now.
very timely. And then if you read his book, you can see it is a blueprint to a scandal.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad you brought up a book because you have a book. You're an author. I'm still waiting on my signed copy.
You don't have one?
No.
Oh, you didn't buy one?
I did.
Did
okay. I buy one?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Did I say? I think, yeah. I think last time we saw each other, I was like, send me the. We're going to figure it out. I want my copy of the book.
I got you.
So can you talk about the book and your inspiration that led you to write a book? I mean, outside of, like, in addition to your civic leadership, like, you just popped out with a book. Like, so, the balance, like, how do you do all these things?
For a long time, but it started as a long form book about my life, really, like what I've been through and what I've done and kind of my pathway to leadership. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's important for everyone to tell their story, no matter if one person reads it and feel inspired by your story. I think you should tell your story.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of it was, I've been working on this. It was just in a Google Doc, writing out kind of my life, and, I'll get to it eventually. And so, during this whole book banning and silencing of all voices, but queer voices in particular throughout different states, and then when it started here in Alabama, it was like, dang, we have young people who are gay, and they just are, or they're in the LGBTQ community, and that's just the reality. And so, for me, I decided to take my story and tell it in such a way that it's a children's book. So it's a children's book about my coming out story. It is.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But it's called Finding My Rainbow.
I love that.
So it tells a story about me coming out in a small town in Alabama and growing up to do what I do now, serving in the mayor's office, serving as president of Pride. But it is, it was meant to be a testament to young folks that you can grow up and do whatever you want to do and be successful here in Alabama as a queer person, and that you do have a community that's ready and willing to welcome you and accept you no matter what you may hear or see otherwise. And so we were able to put that together and put it out. We launched it in June, so it's only been a few months, but it's been super cool.
I love that. So if you were to talk to younger you, do you think younger you would have known that you were going to do this, or like this was not what was your goal? What was younger Josh's goal?
So oddly enough, when I was young, I either wanted to be an FBI agent or a mailman.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
And so growing up and, kind of, whatever, God, a higher power, something has a different,
pathway.
Vision for you. And so I don't know. I think everything does happen for a reason, and you're led to be where you're supposed to be, and you're supposed to have the experiences you have for a reason. And so putting all these experiences kind of loosely into a book that's a way to inspire young people was just part of that. And so, it's been rewarding in that aspect. And,
yeah. So as you continue to like serve in these various leadership roles, I guess what are your long-term goals? Like, what do you want to see at the end of the day? Like, what's the end goal, Josh? You running for office? What's up?
That's funny. That's the hardest question. No, so right now I'm focused on winning the election in November.
Absolutely.
And electing Kamala Harris.
Absolutely.
I've been working since 2016 to ensure that we can see a first female president. Mm-hmm. And damn it, we're going to do it this year.
We got to. We have to.
It's taken a while, but we're going to do it.
We have to.
So that's goal number one.
Yeah.
Goal number two is creating a world. That's cliche, right? We're going to create a world where everyone can be happy. World peace. But no, it really is about how can we lay a foundation for a successful life to everybody. And so what I see as success may not be what you see as success. Mm-hmm. And so I always tell people I want you to be successful, whatever that means to you.
Yep.
And success to me may be I woke up today and I made it through the day and I made it here to be with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And success to somebody else is I may be elected to public office. All the roles that I've served in and will continue to serve in has not been because I just think I have to do it or I'm the only one that can do it. Plenty of people can do it. And I think the way that we hand off these leadership roles to people are important. And so as we grow and we pass on, the baton to other generations, that doesn't even have to be younger, but other people and other voices come into the conversation, I'm interested to see what the world brings. Is that running for public office? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. Like I'm not going to be like, I'm running for office and I want to be elected to office. I want to be of service
Absolutely.
to the community.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't have to be elected. It can be doing this.
Yeah,
right here.
absolutely. So 2 more questions. What advice would you give to like any young political activist, who's looking to make a difference in their communities, but particularly in historically underserved populations?
Just do it. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so it took me so long to realize that. And it's kind of like this, like, oh, that's what everyone says. Just start and do it. But how do you start to do it? If you have an idea, just do it and find somebody that you can run that idea by. And then if that person is negative, find somebody else that'll support you.
Yeah.
I'm like, so often you ask people for advice. They're like, oh, we can't really do that. And so I heard that a lot. When I ran for party chair, we can't have a gay party chair. We can't have somebody that young. We can't do this. And so, maybe they were right. But the thing is, if you have an idea, if you have a vision, just do it.
Yeah.
And find a way to do it.
Right.
And so my philosophy for everyone is, if you want to do something, I want you to do that. And I want you to be successful in doing that. And let me know how I can help you to do that.
Absolutely.
And so, the vice president in an interview said, if someone shuts the door on you, you got to knock that fucking door down.
Yep.
And so it really resonated with me. And I'm like, damn, that's right. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Knock the door down. I love that. So, Josh, how can people stay connected with you? And, like, you can plug in your Instagram, Facebook, however, website.
So you can stay connected anyway. You can Google me, Josh Coleman. You can.
It's like you can Google me. Y'all heard?
But for real, so like social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything, website, it's colemanjosh.com because Josh Coleman was taken and it's like $8,000. I'm not paying for it. So,
wow.
But anything. You can, Facebook. I'm very active social media. So.
Yeah. I love that, Josh. Well, I appreciate you coming on Set in Stone for our The South Got Something to Say series because you're the South, I'm the South, we the South. But you had a lot to say today.
I did.
So, thank you.
Anytime.
All right, bye, y'all. See you next time.